As long as I have both you, Bill, and Steve on the line, and just before we have the wonderful testimonies we're going to share, there was some mention of an IRB study. And is it possible that either of you could explain exactly what that is and what's in our future with that?
Sure. I'll start it out, Steve, and hand it over to you. It's IRB approval. IRB stands for Institutional Review Board approval. And when you submit a paper, or when somebody submits a paper to a journal, the journal has an editorial board, a board of reviewers called peer reviewers. And they go through an extensive peer review process, passing the paper around to different editorial members who read through the paper to verify that its premise, the purpose of the paper is solid, that its scientific adherence, that adhering to scientific methods is adequately supported and in compliance with guidelines, and that its conclusions are justifiable and the references are good and all that kind of stuff. Well, when you apply for an IRB, when you go to do a human clinical study, you must have an IRB approval in order for the study to be accepted. And part of the IRB review process is, number one, the scientific basis of the study, the hypothesis, the reason you're doing the study, what you hope to find, the methods you're employing or using to determine whatever you're trying to find, and the adherence to good scientific methods. So in a clinical study, when subjects are involved, they have to approve. We have to guarantee their confidentiality. We have to guarantee adherence to safety, and adhere to the methodology in the study. And the patients have to sign or the subjects have to sign a consent form. And all of these things have to be in place in order for the IRB review board to give you an approval. And it costs. It can cost as much as $6,000 just for the reviewers on the IRB board to give you that approval. And our IRB review board was an NIH-approved, compliant IRB review board. Some places don't have that. Some places are just a university-level IRB review. Well, ours are National Institutes of Health qualified IRB reviewers. So that type of review board credentials actually gives you a step up in getting a study, an IRB approval, and getting the study reviewed and approved for publication. So it's an extremely important first step, and that's what we got. I may have shot everything, Steve, so is there anything else you could add to that?
Can we talk about the study at all?
Talk about what?
Can we talk about the study at all?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Let me just add real quick, because Bill covered 96% of it. I have been involved in trying to get IRB approvals for other nutraceutical studies, and while Bill made it sound like it doesn't work involved and you can get it done, it is unbelievably difficult to get an approval for a nutraceutical study with an IRB, because what they come back always and say is, well, we don't know if it's going to be safe. We don't know if there's enough science behind it until you can prove that we can't give you the approval. And, of course, you can't prove that until you can do the study with an approval. It's a real catch-22. And so our approval did not take place overnight. It took some time and effort to get it there. But obviously we were successful, and there are few and far between nutraceutical products that actually end up going through full IRB approval, getting a study done, and then getting into a journal. So it is quite an accomplishment for us as a company, and it shows the validity of what we're doing as well.
Yeah, the other thing is that a lot of the companies, first off, you've heard us say that we have science on our finished products. Keep in mind, for example, on the Brain Reward product, we have 27 published human clinical trials supporting, that technology. Every single one of them that is double-blind, placebo-controlled, or triple-blind, placebo-controlled, or however they're done, were IRB approved. And that's just a major accomplishment. So when we went to do the study on the Prodovite, as Steve was saying, it's not a slam dunk. And we've had people, most other companies rely on their ingredient science. And so they have some good ingredients that have scientific validation in the formula. And both Steve and I have done those kind of formulas for people. And in most cases, I have tried to get them, the companies that I did formulas for, to do the studies to validate their finished products. And they just never went through with it because, number one, it's expensive. The IRB is $6,000. Well, the studies, most of the clinical studies, cost anywhere from $75,000 to $250,000 for 25 people or so, 25 people. We've got 41 subjects in this study, and we really did a great job because the study was constructed very carefully so that we could get good data for a very good value. But other companies that do ultimately get some science on their finished product don't even bother with an IRB because it's basically science that's done to support marketing. It's not science that's done to actually get published in a scientific journal. So that we have science on a finished product and that it's been submitted to a journal, and then we have science on finished products that has numerous published studies is just unprecedented. There has never been another product that came to market in the natural products industry backed by 27 clinical studies. There's never been another multiple vitamin in the history of the industry that has been shown to get into the body or by oral mouth administration, been shown to get into the blood in 5 minutes. It's just unprecedented. Go ahead, Steve.
No, that I think you covered it. That was good. Paul, you had asked a question about what the study was.
Yes.
Well, briefly, what we did without going into too much detail because it'll all come out as the article gets published, but we just took individuals of a variety of ages, gender, backgrounds. We weren't looking for people that were just sick. They could have been normal people. They could have had something wrong. We didn't try to tip the scales in our favor, so to speak. And the study, essentially, we took a small sample of blood before and looked at it through the live blood cell analysis and took both video and still pictures, and then we gave a dose of the Prodovite and waited 5 minutes and retook the blood and did the same analysis with the live blood cell video and saw tremendous results, unbelievable results in terms of the picture, the movement, the overall shape and flow of blood as the supplement got into the system and made a rather immediate impact. And then we also saw additional and better changes occurring even in 30 minutes. Nothing we have ever seen has worked this fast. We weren't trying to show that we were curing anything or making any changes in levels. We just wanted to make sure that we saw a positive effect in the blood. There's a lot more detail to it, but the other point to bring up is we used water as a control to make sure we weren't just seeing changes based on hydration. And the people that did the blood test took water and then did another test 5 minutes later. There was virtually no change in the picture of the blood that we took. So it's kind of unprecedented. And the last thing I'll say in terms of the results is when whoever looks at the live blood cell video that we now have posted, rest assured that the other 40 people that did the study all had very, very similar, if not better, results.
Yeah. The other thing is the reason, again, keep in mind that the video that you see on livebloodcellvideo.com was the 6th person that I believe it was the sixth person, may have been the fifth or the seventh, but her number in the study was 16, and we started at 10. So it wasn't too. It may have been the fourth person because I don't think all of them were included. I think he used the numbers based on who he thought was going to come and get blood tests. But let's say it was the sixth person. The results were so stunning, and Ted Aloisio, who's a microscopist, has done a lot of these, and for that exact reason, on that video at that number, he is so astounded by the results of what he's seeing that he's compelled to comment and say, I've been doing this for 14 years. I've done over 40,000 sessions, and I've never seen anything like this. I've seen it in 3 to 4 months where the blood got better, but I've never seen it in 5 minutes. And he just continues to see those kind of results, subject after subject after subject, for the entire population of 41 individuals ages 12 to 82. So it is really an astonishing accomplishment. And when the journal, I had to jump off the line for a second, so forgive me if I'm repeating anything. When the journal comes in to publish the study, once it's approved, they are bringing their own videographer to the site and going to evaluate some live blood cell analysis, monitoring the entire process from the preparation of the microscope to the preparation of the sponge, the subject, the lancing of the finger, how the blood is expressed, the fact that you can't squeeze the finger, you have to rely just on capillary pump action to express blood out of the tip of the finger once it's lanced. You can't touch the slide to the finger because all of these things will damage the red blood cells. When you put the cover slide on, you can't press it down hard because it'll literally smash the red blood cells, and it'll make the before pictures look bad. So we've actually, in this study, had to establish and validate a protocol that would, for the live blood cell analysis methodology itself. In the paper, I actually said, we're not aware of any peer-reviewed published studies establishing a standard method for doing this research. And so we're breaking new ground in that area as well. And that, therefore, we had to validate the phase contrast microscope analysis method in order to validate the results that were being seen. And the journal has just been excited all along the way. I mean, usually when reviewers send their comments about changes they want, if they're really adverse, if they see things that are a lot of problems, they just hammer you. So the changes they sent for us to make are all minor changes, like removing commercial names and things like that. I was just stunned.
Bill, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We may want to change your line or something because we're getting an awful lot of feedback there. And I'm not sure if it's your line or if somebody's on a speakerphone somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to be there because I hear it when you talk to it.
Okay. Then I think what I'm going to block out everybody. And, well, this has been, I was just blown away at what we've got here. And I'm so excited when we come out with this. It'll just, I wanted to open this up between Bill and Steve because they so adequately talked about the IRB number, and I thought maybe they could take it to the next level to explain the process that we have with our clinical studies so people can be excited and aware and understand the time frames from which we're moving on. Bill, how about if I just turn it over to you first?
Okay, thanks, Paul. There was some questions raised about the IRB as if it was some different type of a study, and the IRB is now for human clinical studies a procedural requirement. You have to get an IRB in order to do a study. So the IRB was already obtained, the Institutional Review Board. And again, for those people that were not on last week, an IRB is an institutional review board that reviews a study protocol, the study concept, the study purpose, its objectives, and methods to make sure that the whole premise of the study is scientifically valid, that it complies with scientific methodology, and that it's safe to the subjects in the study, and that it's well managed. So when they give the IRB approval, you have to have that before you do the study. And we received an IRB, and that number will be on the study when it's published. They'll be able to reference the IRB number. So that's already done. The challenge comes when you submit the scientific, when you submit the paper to the journal. They go back and forth with what are called interrogatories. They interrogate you. They ask you questions even before it goes into the peer review process or the review of the editors on the journal board. They want you to maybe make comments or clarifications about something in the study, or want a reference about some other thing. And we've already gone through that process, and the paper is now going through review. Once it is in the review process, it is out of our hands. We have absolutely no say unless they come back with additional questions as a result of the review process. And the review process generally can take 4 to 7, 8 months. Generally, sometimes it happens a little quicker, and sometimes it's a little bit longer. And when you have studies that have spectacular results like we did, it might be almost unbelievable for them, but we don't expect it to be too long. So it's just a matter of sitting on our hands and being patient and chewing gum and breathing heavy and waiting until the journal gives us their final approval. Or they may say, no, this is not for us, and we would need to present it to a different journal. But right now, we're just waiting for a decision from the journal. So that's where we are with that. Steve, you have anything else you wanted to comment on?
You should mention that sometimes, and you know better than I, but how long it can take sometimes you have to get an approval from an institutional review board before you can even start the study.
Yeah, it could take 6 months for that.
If you're lucky on a nutraceutical, I've seen we did one that took a year and it didn't get approved.
Right.
For a specific thing, so it's very difficult. And then, rest assured that the study part of this is done with 41 people, with before and afters, with everything recorded, with consistently incredible results. And as Bill kind of alluded to, one of the things that could take time is, to our knowledge, we've never seen a multi-nutrient supplement that has had a study on the finished product before, certainly not with these kind of results. So there's a little bit more looking at this, and we're breaking new ground here. This is not something that we're doing that is kind of following in somebody's footsteps. We are trend setting here. So when we get to that point, we will have something quite unique in the field.
As a matter of fact, when we were in Ohio, I began to talk a little bit about, we had some people there who were actually studying live blood cell microscopy using phase contrast with microscope, which is what we use in the study. And I'm going to be sending the protocol to some of those people that are doing live blood cell microscope analysis with a phase contrast microscope, because we're breaking ground in two areas. We are establishing a published reference standard for performing a live blood cell analysis that has, to our knowledge, never been done before. It's been taught in the schools, but it's not actually ever been published. So we're breaking ground in that. We're validating the methods to do the live blood cell analysis, and then we're validating the live blood cell analysis as a means of determining just how healthy your blood is. Its function, form and function, its the flow rate of the blood, and the properties of the blood in general, the structure, the function, the form, everything like that. So it's really, as Steve said, we really got astonishingly consistent results all the way across the board.
Well, this is just very exciting. I can't wait. And I believe, as you said, Stephen, Bill, something that's really never been done before with what we have.
Correct. Yeah, and we just have to kind of sit and wait for the journal to come back to us. I mean, this is not something for people who are in science. For people who are not in science, it's going to be a painfully long process, even if it's longer than a week, which it'll most likely be. So everybody just kind of sit back and take advantage of the live blood cell video while you've got it, because once the study is published, we may replace the live blood cell video with the actual study results on the QR code on the business cards.
Wow, that's very exciting. Thank you for explaining that. Now I got it, Bill.
Okay.